Avulekile masango ekunjalo kunjalo ekunjalo
As introduced, igama lam 𝗭𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵. Mandiqale ndithi I do not take it lightly that 𝗭𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 because I'm not a Methodist, as you may have heard. And the Methodist Church is one of the founding churches in our country and in Southern Africa, broadly over the world. And that we should be invited as outsiders to come and discuss issues of such criticality is not something to be taken lightly. I do honor that a lot. Manphinde nditsho into yokuba hey isiqabaseni siyayihlokoloza into because the topics they have given us are not easy topics to vote, especially in the church. Especially because we are going to be dealing with multi-sexualities. We are going to be dealing about the patriarchy, which is so entrenched generally in the way we live our lives. Sesiphumile ecaweni. Ibe weske ngoba ecaweni because noThixo siyesamenza indoda. So necessarily ukuyi-addressa ecaweni kuba problematic in that our first understanding of God is that of a man. And to be called kuthiwe izake izosinika uluvo lwakho is not something that is very easy to do, especially because I sit amongst my peers and I am of the view that these are just conversation starters and I hold no true view. It's just conversation starting that by the time Diphuma up and I will have learned something from this plethora of abantu abatsha abakhoyo namhlanje. Now, ndinikwa ke imizuzu 8:15, I'm timing myself. Inzima ke into ye-patriarchy because kwakhona when he called me, he said, zipho ingxaki yethu into yokubana in society there are many females as in the church. Ibandla ligcwele abantu abangosisi. Yet all upper echelons of leadership have male representatives. And it is not a true reflection of the constituency in the church. But inzima into yokuyi-addressa i-patriarchy, in that it almost feels like it's a topic that is ahistorical. Because for as long as we have been alive, and for as long as our parents have been alive, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, patriarchy has been a way of life. This is why you receive a pushback anytime you want to call out the patriarchal tendencies. For those perhaps who do not know, patriarchy into ethi leadership, ne power, ne dominion, ne rule siza khetha based on male descent. Into ethi phako kwenu nokungayintombi yokuqala bengumafungwashe. Eyona nkulu yakokwenu ngulamina wakho ukulandelayo. Such that oyena mntu ubonwayo phako kwenu into yokubana uzaba yindlalifa ayinguwanga ngulamina wakho ukulandelayo. It's not only in our homes, it's also present in the church. Isikhaneke sometimes iBhayibhile, because uzodibana noPawulos esithi women should not speak in the church and women should not be allowed to speak and teach over men. They must sit and they must be humble. And ufike ubone ngathi izandla zethu zibotshelelwe. Sithetha xa kutheni, when do we assume roles of leadership? How best can we do that? If kwayona iBhayibhile ithi when it addresses the issue of women leadership in the church, it says women must be quiet and be humble. And if they have anything to ask, they must ask their husbands at home. Sithini ke thina lebantu bangatshatanga. Sinabo ke nodada sabatya ngendlala. Sithini ke ngoku? Sikhale ke ngoku sibe loud. But if we want to understand the original intent of God when He created humanity, and especially as females, if we want to understand our role in humanity, we must go back to Genesis 1 at the point of conception. Because Genesis 1:26, we do find in Dokbana, before kubunjwe udongwe, God calls this meeting, this meeting, yes, the person who is being created there has no gender. Ngumoya, uThixo ungumoya, utsho uYohane 4:24. uThixo ungumoya, uthi masenze umuntu ngokomfaniselo nomfuziselo wethu. So before we get to the male and the female, He created them. The very first aspect perhaps we need to understand is that sonke apha singomoya abanxibe imizimba. Abanye bethu banxibe imizimba yobhuti, abanye bethu banxibe imizimba yosisi. But sonke apha sidalwe ngokufana noThixo. Now iyasichana ke, as I said, le nto kaThixo who is male. Because if He is purely male and nothing else, how does He come about to create a female species? How does He understand what attributes to put in this female species? And how does He know? Because in ntsikelelo yakhe yokuqala uthi, be fruitful, rule and have dominion. Akatsho endodeni the male body. He is saying it to lo mntu amcreatileyo who is male and female at the same time. So dominion ne rulership, rightly should I say, even leadership, at the very inception of God's creation, women are part of the dominion structure of God. Women are part of indlela uThixo ebefuna ukuzipopulate ngayo in the earth. They were never meant to be subservient. Izamva leyoba uEfa atye emthini uthiwe basibophelele kwakhona, uthiwe kwasekuqaleni wathi uThixo you will desire you to rule over your husband, but he will rule over your husband, not men. Husband, sitshatanga. This does not mean we can't assume leadership roles, because uninzi lwethu apha asitshatanga. Ikhesi kaEfa ithi uzawufuna indoda yakhe, not aba sihleli nabo, apha eyakhe. And the man who is going to rule over uEfa yile these intricacies in the church, because xa sibotshelelwa sisiwa kuEfa okhonjiswe endodeni yakhe, sisiwe kuPawulos naye othumela abantu emadodeni abo. Ikushiye ke wena if you are not married, ulengalenga mhlawumbi ujongene notatakho, ibembi imeko yakho mntase xa utatakho ejonga umamakho. And yet we do not want to acknowledge that we live in a society, by and large, that is sustained and kept by women. Not that men do not have roles that they play, but by and large, especially in the African homes, we have seen our mothers carry Niyandiva. It seems like now, to my advantage in the teacher, so necessarily in the projector because the class in project. The niche of the banana. Then the start in the African society, in that sikula kumakaya, mostly that are women run. We have a high number of women-headed homes. Asizobe sitsala into bana tatomkhulu bathathwa basiwa as mine and the African home was broken because ngokusehleke nabazukulwana babo abasizalisayo babaleke bahambe. So by and large, it is something that is being perpetuated, that our women are by and large the very first leaders you are going to see in the home. And the very first leadership structure you are ever going to encounter is in your home. Then in the church, because as African people, it seems like into ehamba nathi into kubana singabantu benkolo, whether it be Christianity or something else, but singabantu benkolo and sikhutshwa ngabamama. But uzawufika even in African customs, abantu abangomama banento ethuliswayo. So when you need to address the patriarchy in the church, it becomes difficult because even your own culture, inento ethi hlala phansi uthule, okanye thetha uthethe ube nomda because you are female. And abakuthuliseni that i-points zakho are invalid. Uthuliswa just on the basis that you are female. And that is problematic for me at least. That uzawuthula on the basis that you have a vagina, uyeke umuntu who's got a penis to speak. Not because uthetha into ebhadlileyo okanye echubekileyo, but just on the basis that he's a male, so he has the final say. Iba problematic again. Now, we have another problem that we have. Because times have been progressing, you do find that now society becomes, bangalida abantu abangosisi. But you find that by and large, men are inclusive on podiums when they are saying speeches. The lived practicality of that inclusivity is something else. I was speaking to a pastor friend of mine who's a female, very dynamic. And I was asking her, Ndoba, you've got practical experience of how men treat women in leadership structures in the church. Ithini lento yenu, because ngumfundisi ogcokiweyo, ithini into yenu. And perhaps on that point, I must applaud the Methodist Church for electing its second female presiding bishop. That is very important. I do understand that those female, as asicafiki kule ndawo siya kuyo, but we have one of the cornerstone churches in the country acknowledging that in fact amanina angasiphatha. I mean, it's something to be applauded. Now, uthi ke inzima, my friend says to me, inzima into of being a female pastor, because men will make you feel that you are female. You go to a funeral, ungumfundisi ogcokiweyo, kuthiwe you are not allowed to preach on the basis that ewe wena unguye umfundisi, but you are female. Now, unfortunately, for her or for the people who had invited her to preach at a funeral, umane kuthiwa singaqhuba ukhona umfundisi athi la madoda ahleli ngaphambili, hayi sisalinde umfundisi ozawushumayela. Lo and behold, xa kubizwa umuntu makazoshumayela kuphakama laa mntu bekuthiwe ukhona umfundisi, but because a female, they could not bring themselves to accept into yokubana in this particular African funeral we are going to be addressed by a female, because ilapha kwifiber yabantu ngokwendlela esikhuliswe ngayo into yokuba i-authority yeyamadoda. Sawukhapha ke thina simane siyoba ngabancedisi. Anditsho itsho iBhayibhile ithi uYehova wamenzela uAdam umncedisi ongowabo. Kaba ke asabisabonelwa nesakhono esi sento yokuba ebethe pha ku-126 have dominion, rule and be fruitful. Sayilibala sahamba nomncedisi ongowabo ngongathi sonke sizawutshata. And God forbid if sonke asitshatanga and the church ime kule nto yobana sizawumane silivulele ikroba but simane silivala because sithi singamadoda abaphetheyo. God forbid, we will never ever get to the potential that God had given us. Because what happens akhona if I'm sure akhona church, what happens if she has leadership qualities and she cannot accept those based on the way that she was socialized? Because i-socialization yethu singamantombi nokuba ungangu nokhontoni ongakanani na uthethe unento at the back of your head that says I must draw a line. Because socialization has said as a female uthethe ume, not kuba kutheni, but as a female awunokwazi uthetha yonke into, whether you hold or you have, because you've been trained, because kaloku siyafunda ngoku, because you've been trained awukwazi ukuzibonisa fully in the present moment in the church leadership abilities zakho, because you have your own stigmas that you first must deal with. And this is something that we as females should be addressing, that i-intent kaThixo ngamqala masimyeke into yoba ubani uye wathini notata uye wathini. The intent of God for me as a person is that I should rule and have dominion first and foremost. Ukwenza into yokubana xa kuthiwa nasi isithuba sokubana you can ascend into the echelons of leadership in the church, awudilishani ne self-esteem issues unguwe, because most of the time i-perpetuators the patriarchy ayingomadoda ngabafazi. I can promise you now that your two presiding bishops, the pushback they are going to get most of the time is not from men, it is from women. Because a system is successful, siyibona ngento yobana lo u-oppressed ibe nguye oyithethelelayo ayiperpetuate. So in as much as we want true inclusivity from men, we also have a job to do as females in dealing with our own issues and unsocializing ourselves and deconstructing the things that we have been taught and teaching ourselves anew what is the correct way. And the correct way asizofika kuyo namhlanje, asizofika kuyo ngomso. It is going to be a process. It might not even be gotten by abantwana bethu, but the conversation must start and the work must start with us. This is why such conversations are necessary in the church. Because if we don't do it now, siyekela abantwana bethu ne-generations ezilandela emveni kwethu, if you don't have kids, unazo mhlawumbi siblings ezincinci nabatshana who are going to face the same thing that you are facing on the basis of being female. Now, we are allowed to lead, but we must do so because we are competent to lead. Ingabi issue yokubana sifuna ikomiti yethu ibe nabantu abangomama, sifaneke sifakwe nokuba isakhono asinaso. Asithi xa sisithi we want women in leadership, fakani noba ngubani na. Fakani abantu abanesakhono sokukhokela, so that the work of the organization can go forward. Because ayincedisane nathi laa nto yomane sisithi hayi ke sizawumenza uNongema wasesithilini just for representation. Uyayibona ke napha embuthweni wethu kuthola amadoda o-deputy secretary general ifane bengoma apha koo-deputy, but by and large everywhere you look in society, it's not going to be different in the church, because inkonzo iphuma apha kwi-society ayizoba different. Uzayibona embuthweni, uzayibona emsebenzini, uzayibona enkonzweni. But what we are rooting for is that when you select women on the basis of their competence, because we are competent. I'm not afraid to say it. We are very competent young females who can lead. Not because we are being done a favor, but because we have undergone the necessary upskilling that all leaders should undergo. And that our views are valid, not because we are female, but because we are human. Because the other thing we must get away from, and quickly so, the future is female. The future is not female, and I say this as a feminist. The future is not female, the present is female. In that we are trying to balance the scales of women and male leadership. The future is union, where we see both male and female leading together, understanding the power of the other, not as a threat, but as a complement. Ithi ke loo nto manina amandisanda phuma ku-August not so long ago, ezaa slogans zethu zinayo indawo esibophelelayo, because if we say the future is female, it means right now we are not wanting to lead. We are taking ourselves and projecting ourselves in the future as though there's nothing we can do in the present. Oh, Umenda must happen now, not in the future now. Oh, it's the children's look and say to the man, on Bokoto. Because men expect us to not bleed. Ibe understood that xa ukhe wandidropa ndiza kophuka kuphele. Hayi ndiza kophuka kuphele bantwana ndiliqanda andiyo ne-marshmallow because uzawundicudisa ndiphinde ndithi ayindincedisi i-marshmallow. But ayithethi into yobana kuba ndiliqanda I do not have the capability. Izawuthatha iminyaka ke ukuyi-uprooter. Ibe worse for abantu who do not subscribe purely just to your normalized male and female gender roles. Because as the church asifuna ubafaka kwi-conversation. Sisathi xa sithila ngabafazi sithi into yokubana they must sit down and they must understand authority, or if bazawulida bafuneke bangawutsibi umda we-authority. Up ngongathi ndisendlini yam ndithetha nomntu wam ntokuba mandi-understande i-authority yakhe apha endlini kaThixo, mandi-understande i-authority yomntu ongubhuti not because he has leadership over me. Because he's a man. And this is how we have cases of gender-based violence in the church, which we sweep under the carpet because is our daughter, and men will protect themselves. About things that are happening in the church, because in the church, sinasa structure said to sikatiko or yindoda. And if we are going to question anything that is written in the written word, then we are challenging the authority of God, who is a man, and by extension, men can never be questioned. Because and perhaps no yes he had to. The era in which he was born was the patriarchal era, in which women were never allowed to speak. If he came as a baby girl, because women were actually expected to be humble and to sacrifice themselves. Not so for men. When Israel was waiting for years, not they were not expecting that from a man. They can expect it from a woman, not from a man. So he had to come in a male body. It does not mean that God is a male. We can't say that one enough. God is not a male. Neither is he a female. Just in case you're going to say God is not a male, so he must. No, he's not. He's neither of the two. And this is what he is, because this is how we speak. But if you look at the Bible, even 𝗭𝗶𝗶𝗵 is not afraid to be associated with maternal characteristics. If you think of a comforter, 99.9% of the time you do not think of a man. You think of your mother. When you think of somebody who says, as with a woman with labor pains, men don't get labor pains. I have born you, Israel. You don't think of a man. You think of a female, and this is God directly saying, I have these attributes of a female. It's there in the Bibles that we read. But because Kuba is selective with patriarchy, we will say, it's metaphoric. The metaphoric names is made by the metaphoric language for the context of the time in which the Bible was written. We must be able to read the scripture in context, so that from it we take what is going to work for our generation. When we say we want these things to work for the 21st century church, we must be able to say the historical placing of the Bible is this, our placing is this, and where are we? So that we don't take things from the scripture and try to extrapolate them to the 21st century church, and it doesn't work. Sithi ke ngokwabantu abamameli, ayintoba abantu abamameli, abantu are just living in the era they are born into. And the era they are born into necessitates that by this time we should have acknowledged that women are just as capable leaders as men are.
Right. Let's make another round of applause. Moving right ahead. Ndicela uxolisa in advance. Just in case. Just in case andithi sizodlula exesheni, but just in case. There's something that I've noticed. E-awareness has an element of invoking the controversy. E-awareness, the more people become aware, be it they become aware about themselves or about things around them, they then challenge society and maybe to a certain extent shape society. So, ihambi hambi ke Hloni ibe yingxaki where njengoba benjilo eqaleni that over time people change, nezinto around people ziyachinja, nendlela ababona ngayo izinto iyachinja, nendlela abafuna ukwenza ngayo izinto iyachinja, and that becomes a problem kubantu who are not ready to move or to transform. And Bagay? Unfortunately, anayo la voice ikwazayo. So, according to society, sexuality or gender is fluid. The church is a part of society. Okanye, church is made up of individuals who are part of the society. Now, the society sees gender as fluid, but church or ibandla knows sexuality as, okanye defines it as male and female, and it ends there. So that's where the problem starts slowly. Because ekugqibeleni kosuku, church is made up of abantu who are from the society, who don't see gender as just male and female. So now uHloni Ekhaya is going to lead us, okanye is going to discuss diverse sexualities so that we understand them and see us as the church or as the Christians in the 21st century. Simuva njani. Over to you.
Guild is one heart, one way. Ndlelanye.
Ndlelanye.
Ndithatha ithuba lisibusele kuwo wonke umuntu olivayo i-Islam. Igama elihle lomfeli womfela uYesu Kristu olwembazana. I'd like to first start by thanking the executive. I'd like to thank the executive for being bold. Being bold, being courageous, and being daring. In a traditional church that is located in a traditional district that has most of its context being very traditional, nikhetha such topics. That takes guts. Big ups for that. That is leadership. And I'd like to also thank you for to kick off 𝗭𝗶𝗵𝗵, feed off from what 𝗭𝗶𝗵𝗵 or some of the points that 𝗭𝗶𝗵𝗵 had mentioned. And how it is internalized. To a point where you be unconscious. Kukwenye second pakutestive ngomnyaka kunyulwe executive yeKid. Usisi wangunobhala. Uvice wayindoda. Uvice wa absent kwi-duties zakhe. Wa resign after facing wa resign. Bahlala bengena vice. Unobhala wadlala indima ka-vice. Babe bepreparela ukuya kwi-opening ye-second. Wadlala indima ka-vice. Ekudlaleni kwakhe indima ka-vice, i-vision ye-guild ye-second, i-direction ezayithatha yasuka kulo my system. wayidibanisa ngokwakhe ivision, wayidibanisa ngokwakhe i-executive yakhe, wathi i-executive nantsi marching lights zawuhamba. Ukusukela ngoku uyotsho ngoDisemba sihamba kule ndawo. Kwafika ixesha lokuba makuyiwe kwi-opening. Address enziwa ngubani? Ku-vice. Xa kuza kwenziwa i-address, unobhala wahamba wayokhangela my brother khoyo apha esekithini. Wathi ndicela uzowenza i-address, ndiza kubrifa into yokubana uzawufika uthini phaa. Ndiza kunika ivision kwaye ndizawuhlala nawe ndithi make sure uba uyayibona le vision, uyakwazi uyishera le vision. Ndayiva le nto after service idlulile, ndambuza why. Wathi I'm a female and uvice normally you-role ka-maid and therefore then ndiyawukhangela uGod. Lo my sister was very capable. She had already started eyenza le nto kaVice eyikhokela. Leadership is about inspiring. Leadership is about drawing a vision and then saying, come, let us move this side and rally the people that you are moving with. Beyenzile loo nto leyo. Kodwa was disqualified simply because she does not have a penis. Kukuyi-internalize i-patriarchy oko. Ingaphakathi kuye, iyaziphilela apha kuye, iyazenzekela apha kuye. And that is most of us. Sikuloo situation njalo. But ke, riding from there, ndizawungena ngaloo door ye-patriarchy into le party ndizawuthetha ngayo ethi diverse sexualities. Ndithe ke xa ndilungisa president nawe nobhala nesigqibaseni, nathi ndiyayibona yona itopic ithe the church in the 21st century. Ndathi in order for me ndiyibone kakuhle le nto, ndikwazi uyincokala kakuhle le nto uThixo andibonisa yona, I'm going to align myself with the Christ who is bothered and is uncomfortable when there are bodies that are sitting in the margins. And so ndazenzela eyam itimanyana encinci ezandigaida ethi from the margins to the center. Because in the church space, those who do not identify in the heteronormative ways of thinking, they are pushed to the margins. So then, indawo endifuna uphuma kuyo kule nto ndizayithetha is, let us work towards a transformational change. Must break it down to sexuality. Sexuality, it is a person's sexual desire, erotic actions, and sexual behaviors towards others. Sexual desires, erotic actions, sexual behaviors towards others. Normally, this thing yellow sexuality, it is a personal and private thing. So I'm getting down with no because it is personal and private. That's true. But also, in many aspects, it is social and external. Hence, then, sine view personal. Because most of the times, it manifests in a social and external way or environment. Now, the closest social ties that are created through sexual connections with child. And it was Adam no Eva, Kamani Nandi. sexual connection, sexuality. That's the base of it. And umzekelo omhle ngulo womtshato. Now, one of the big contributing factors to how we behave towards sexuality, these social values. I-social values zethu nokubana siboniswe kwathiwa ukuthi umuntu kufanele uphila njani phakathi kwabanye abantu ziyayi-affect indlela esirelate ngayo nabanye abantu. And so we internalize i-cultural values zethu ogqiba sizifowune. Hence then, even though i-personal i-sexuality kabadala abantu, but xa ephila enguye ndiba bothered because ndi-internalizile ndayi-owna i-cultural values. So nabo ningandifuni but ndifinisha offended simply because uphila kwakhe lahlobo aphila ngalo lenza impixano apha kuyo because we socialized in a particular way. And so then these social values around sexuality are closely held. People care a lot about how other people behave sexually. It basically means we as duba wenza ntoni erumini xa evayiqaba. Our cultural values sisenze basically sathanda indaba. Because kaloku sizihlupha ngento enzeke erumini evaliweyo esingangeni ndawo kuyo between ii-sheets ezingathengwanga ngemali yethu. And that's where the problem is. Because we then impose those sexual values or those cultural values on others. Sexual norms and values create a hierarchy of sexuality, sexual relations. Identities and behaviors are valued and applauded. Zabanye. So, kube sexualities is applaudwayo, kube sexualities is jogelwa phansi. Ngenxa yokuba ndisebenzisa my own cultural values, ndizimpose komnye umuntu. Andiboni wrong into yokubana uhlonela xa kuphela le consultation ube kanti by-5 or 6 oosister aye wakhona into ayidibanisa kule nabo. Andiboni wrong. Kodwa ngokubona kwam umadalambane ephuma kulaa gate noandile ndinengxaki, ndibona into wrong. So into leyo kukho ii-relationships ezirayithi endingazoyo nangona ndiyophula iintliziyo ezi-5 kule consultations ndazenza zam umgubo. Andinangxaki nayo loo nto leyo but ndinengxaki naba bayi-2 mhlawumbi bafike bangena boyi-2 apha ebhildingini yecawa baphinda baphuma behamba boyi-2 khange bahluphe mntu bazikhonzele baphuma but ndidutywa kokwaphuma kwabo boyi-2 bengathi bakhozi. Then ndihambe ke ngoku ndikukhekhe ndithi ndiba yabona le nto ezidwana yingxaki le nto ezidwana sisaba yingxaki sifuna ugadwa izidwana nokudala kum sidwana simply because sithatha i-cultural values zethu sazimposa kwabanye safuna baphile ngelo hlobo. Manditshitshe umzekelo, amaxesha atshintshile ewe but not too long ago if virginity of a young woman was aligned or attached to how much value and respect we give her. Ukuba kayo virgin we would look down on her and shun upon her. Oyokubayela lamfana unokubana bangaphi aqhube nabo asinalo nexesha nayo. Kude kwenziwe umzekelo, kumzekelo ndiwuqaphelayo othanda ukwenziwa nasecaweni. Ufike kusithiwa, bosisi, pictureisha islab sechocolate. Qho udibana nomfana uyaqhekeza. Qho udibana nomfana uyaqhekeza. I-roll zale chocolate ziyi-6. Ukuba ubhisisisi nabafana bayi-5, umyeni nakho xa efika uza kushekelwe ichocolate engakanani. Umzekelo othandwayo apha ecaweni. Give us one heart, one will. Umzekelo othandwayo. Why? Bona abantu bayahlonipha ngelaa xesha besenza ngechocolate. But uqaphela phaa into yokubana kukho into wrong. Utheni lo mntu ungisise ecutheka yena? Because ithi base cam iyacutheka ivele yakho. But there's no problem kumfana. Akalilo neapile, akalilo nantoni umfana yena. But times, but times have changed, and if we are compared, no one cares who's a virgin and who's not. Yeah. Why? Because the social norms and values are changing in society. Tizamuveza role ye social norms and